folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I didn't really want to get up and do this today. This is one of those times that you have to push yourself, make yourself to do this. I enjoy walking. It's like a little bit of peace for me. I mean, sure, I get to make a video, but the majority of the walk is just a nice, calming, kind of relaxing moment, even though I'm working out by walking. But there are days that I'd just soon not do it. Today was one of them. Definitely not 100% in how I feel today, but we'll push through it and we'll get to the end of the day. I wanted to talk to you about maybe the title of this video caught your eye. We'll see if the censors allow it. But I wanted to talk to you about the war on masculinity. Oh, I think most of you are aware of it. You probably are. You probably understand, for the most part, what's going on. But maybe not everyone knows why. And I'm not going to claim that I know why, but I have a pretty good theory as to why it's going on. And this has been happening for a few decades now. I can remember as a child growing up, I grew up in a very religious home, and my mother was pretty strict on what type of TV, movies, anything like that we viewed. And one of the things that she would not allow us to watch was any kind of TV show, whether it was child or family related, afternoon sitcoms, anything like that, that portrayed the man of the home as an idiot. Always the butt of the joke, always just making stupid mistakes. And she said, I'm not going to allow you to watch that kind of stuff because, you're growing up to be a man, and you don't need to see their portrayal of the head of the home being an idiot. But that's, they're just trying to destroy the family by destroying the man. And I believe that's absolutely true. What we're seeing and have seen for a long time is a war on the family. And because of that war on the family, we're watching a war happen against different aspects of that family. Right now, it's also a big war on children, trying to destroy their innocence, destroy their minds, confuse them, tell them that they can be whatever gender they want, and all this kind of stuff. And to the point of actually physically mutilating their bodies, which is just absolutely ludicrous. And that's putting it really nice. But today I want to talk about the war on masculinity, the war on men. And I believe that there's some specific reasons why they're doing this. I watched a video, I've actually watched it a couple of times, and many of you know who this guy is, this Yuval Noah Harari, or whatever his name is. He's one of the experts with the World Economic Forum. He's an advisor, and he's been advisor to the Obama administration and many other world leaders, written all kinds of books, and basically he talks about this great dystopian future that these globalists are trying to create for us, and what it's going to be like, and how we're not going to really be humans anymore, and all this kind of ridiculousness. Very evil. But one of the things that he described is how empires and dynasties of old used to deal with the possibility, there was an emperor or a king, and how they would deal with the possibility of someone around them rising up, killing the king or the emperor, and taking over the country and establishing their own dynasty. One of the things that they did is that they castrated the advisors around them. This was very common practice in Asian dynasties, in the Middle East, and even some European ones, where any of the advisors or generals or anyone that had the potential to take over the country, they would castrate them. And by castrating them, it not only, lessened their testosterone levels, which they probably didn't even realize that back then, but it also ended their line. They could no longer have children. They couldn't carry on, their line through their children, and so the establishment of eunuchs became pretty commonplace in a lot of these past ancient cultures. And I think that today, and in fact this Yuval Noah Harari said this, that's part of what we're seeing happen today. And it's not because they're worried that, it's not, Klaus Schwab is not worried that, you or I are going to rise up and take over the World Economic Forum and turn the Great Reset plan into something different. That's not it. It's that there's too many of us. And they complain about this all the time, of overpopulation. Too many people, got to do something about it. Every one of these elites have done it. And so one of the things that they could do is lower birth rates and lessen the potential of people rising up against them. And so I believe that's part of the reasons why we're seeing this war on testosterone. Now, I'm not advocating that men be big old knuckle draggers and grunt and, yeah, my cool car, cool guns, I'm bad tough guy. And that's not necessarily what I mean. In fact, I personally believe that being a warrior poet, and if you don't know what that is, go over to the YouTube channel Warrior Poet Society, and he has some great videos. John Lovell there, he's someone that I think does an amazing job of talking about this, that the strong men, the real warriors, they need to be well-rounded, intellectuals, compassionate, and have the capability of being very dangerous when the time comes. And so what we're seeing happen, and have happened for a while, is this reduction of all of that. We're turning the American male, starting from childhood, into this dumb Neanderthal that, as long as you got football on, and as long as you put a fishing rod in her hand and a Bud Light in the other, we're good. And while some of you may criticize what I say about this and think that I'm crazy, I think there's a lot of evidence to indicate that. And look at the chemicals that are being put into our food that have been for the last few decades. The vast majority of the additives and chemicals are either estrogen-based, estrogenic chemicals that the body processes as they would an estrogen. It raises the estrogen levels of the person consuming it. Go back to everyone laughing at old Alex Jones years ago, saying that the juice boxes were making the frogs gay. Well, guess what? They proved that that was correct. The stuff that's being put in the children's body through medicines, spraying in the air, injecting in their bodies. So why are they doing all this? Well, like I said, possibly lowering birth rates is one of them. Possibly lowering the population through various ways, through lower birth rates, and possibly through just, all these new reasons people die. But then also, I think it's a good thing to talk about is that it's causing men to not be as masculine, not as tough, not as capable of going out there and revolting and fighting against authority, which probably in their mind is very important. I mean, if you look at the global population today, if just 3%, to use that number, if just 3% of the global population revolted against the overlord masters, that's about the amount of people that live in the United States. That's a lot. It's bigger than any army. It's probably bigger than all armies combined. be really hard to control that kind of revolt. And as the population grows, I think they know that. They want a people that they can control and manipulate, keep their thumb on. And that's why we're seeing, I believe, an attack and from just about every area. You know, psychological, through media, TV, music, internet, biological, how the chemicals that are being taken in through food. I mean, we eat as a nation as much, if not more, soybean than probably any other peoples. And so we're seeing all the chemicals there, and then now we're seeing genetic stuff where there's things they can inject in you that can change that. And then we're also seeing it through, like I said, actual surgical procedures, where we're popularizing that, normalizing it, where you're literally doing like the emperors of old and castrating their subjects. My family are very well aware of this, and we work really hard because we have 2 boys still living at home. We work really hard at creating an environment that's contrary to these things. We monitor their diet, try to make sure that they're eating the cleanest thing possible, that potentially does not have all of these chemicals in them. You know, we cut things out like fluoride, all the other stuff that they get that a normal person would get. You know, things like this. No. We surround them and make sure that the influences in their life are good, strong male role models. I think this is important because there does seem to be a war, not just against the family and the family structure, but against men and boys becoming men. I mean, I think that's one of the problems that the military is having now. They're having a hard time getting enough recruitments. And you could make all kinds of arguments as to why that's true. But I think one of them is that this younger generation that's of the age to join the military are very possibly too feminized to want to do it. Now, some of you might say that I think that femininity is a bad thing. Oh, so you're attacking women. No, it's not. You see, this world was created by our Father to live in a balance. And the feminine side is just as important as the masculine side, because there has to be a balance. There's nothing inherently weak about being a woman if you're a woman, because how you're created, that femininity gives you strength, just like your masculinity as a man gives you strength in a physical sense. We're not talking intellectual and spiritual. Something moving around these woods, probably a deer. So I'm not attacking women at all when I say these things, but it is no secret that wars, revolts, rebellions, uprisings, typically led by men. And they know that as the population grows, as technology grows, their place and prominence and leadership and control becomes weaker and weaker. And so they have to do what they can to dilute down the supply of men, of rebellious warrior men, with the chemicals, with the medicines and stuff that people get injected in them, to the stuff they spray in the sky, stuff that's put in food, stuff that's shown on TV, movies, music, internet. And it's interesting that it's okay to have this false masculinity. It's okay to dress up like a man. And it's also okay to be the kind of the Neanderthal man, you know, where you're not really a real warrior. You're just a beer guzzling, grunting, you know, caveman kind of man. What they don't seem to like are the men that are intelligent, the men that are philosophers, the men that are leaders in their home, good husbands, good head of households, good fathers, good leaders in their community, and men that are capable of going out and standing up for what they believe in and what is right, even if that standing up means losing their life. That's the kind of men that they don't seem to like. And so men out there watching this, that's the kind of man you need to be. Ladies out there, that's the kind of man you need to look for. It's the kind of man you need to raise. Because the way that everything is headed, in a lot of ways, there's a losing battle. And I know that many of you think, well, this isn't my home. I'm just a passing through, and I just need to hold on until he arrives and takes me away from here. What if that takes longer than you think? And your children or your grandchildren, you know, grow up during that time period. And you've not done anything to strengthen them and to prepare them and to make them warriors, because you're just holding on to a promise without a date and time. Don't be the kind of believer that just sits by and says, well, I'm taken care of and I'll just wait till he comes. Be the kind of believer that makes sure that you take as many people with you, that the people around you, especially those that are under your care, your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, are raised properly. And one of those ways to raise them properly is to teach those boys how to be men, to not allow this sin into their minds that's going around about it's okay to be something else. It's okay to act like a girl. It's okay to be a little feminine. It's okay to want to desire to do these things. It's not. Don't allow that sin into their minds. Because just like the story of the Passover, that little bit of yeast, it can ruin the whole batch. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.